What's going on, guys? It's Greg Jones for Engine Builder. Today we are outside of Tampa, Florida, checking out Engine Lab of Tampa. We're going to be talking to shop owner Rokket Horton. These guys do some high-level performance Porsche work primarily, but they also do some really cool muscle car stuff as well. They got a lot of cool things in there, so let's go check it out. Let's go.
No shortcuts, no substitutes, no compromises. Great racers and engine builders choose driven racing oil.
All right, guys, so here we are inside the shop, joined by shop owner Rokket Horton. Rokket, great to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having us in.
My pleasure, man.
You know, you gave us a little bit of a sneak peek here, and there's some cool stuff back here, so I'm excited for the audience to see what you guys work on day in and day out.
Awesome.
Before we start walking around, though, I just wanted to, give you a chance to introduce yourself and the shop and what you guys are doing. So if you could, just give us a little bit of background about how you got into this industry.
Well, I got into it by accident, as I was telling you earlier. I'm from Michigan, the automotive capital of the world. We all proud about that.
Right, absolutely.
Lansing, where I grew up, and I've always had a hankering for sports cars. Always liked them. When I was a little kid, my uncle went to Stuttgart and he brought me back a hat. I was probably 3. And it had like a little Stuttgart with it wasn't like a formal Porsche logo, but it was very similar.
Yeah.
And it was my favorite hat when I was a kid. So I don't know, somehow, I think that was where I got the Porsche itch real early.
Right.
So I was driving by a barn one day out in the country on my way to my mom's house, and there's 2 headlights sticking out of the garage, and I'm rubbernecking. I'm like, oh, wow, man, there's a Porsche in there. Cool,
Yeah.
And every time I'd go by and he'd have the barn open, I would be, always rubbernecking. And one day, the Porsche's out in the field, out of the barn. I'm like, oh, man. So I stopped, struck up a conversation with the farmer. I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing with that car? What are you tell me about it? I want to get that piece of shit out of I want it out of my barn. I move that thing in, I move it out. You want to sell it? Yeah. I'm like, okay, how much you want for it? $5,000. I'm like, okay. It was a 72 911S with a 73S engine in it. And I'll tell you why why it's got a different engine in it.
Yeah.
So anyways, $5,000. I'm like, I had like $4,990 to my name, I'm doing whatever I got, begging my mom for like a $10,
Right, yeah.
You got like $50, whatever. Get in the car. So I get the car. He lets me work on it in his barn. I threw a couple had two batteries in the front, and got it running. It was a mechanically injected car. 73. The reason there was a 73S engine in it is 1972 is the only year Porsche had 2 gas caps. One was actually on a gas cap. The left front was where you put the fuel in. Well, Porsche for 1 year had a fuel cap, or an oil cap where you check the oil. It looked like a fuel cap. You open up the thing, and back in those days, the 70s, you drive into a gas station, fill her up.
Yeah.
Check your wipers.
Did everything.
Full service.
Right.
Well, what happened on almost all of those 1972 cars, the one that I had, they open up the oil door and fill it up with gasoline. Go down 5 miles down the road, engine blow up, they get the 73S engines put in them to them. So the car is mechanically injected. Today it's probably worth at least $300,000 or more.
Wow.
So I spent a lot of time working on it. And then I started making, I joined a local Porsche club, trying to do a little camaraderie, And I started, guys are like, hey, where'd you get that fuel distributor? I said, oh, I got this from this guy, Hans Freisinger in Germany. Oh, man, can you get me one? I'm like, yeah. So I call Hans, hey, man, I need this. He sent me the money. I said, do the pod. So I'd wire the money and, get stuff. Then next thing I know, I got this little Porsche parts business going on by accident. Yeah, can you do this? Yeah, can you do it? So I started up a Porsche parts business called Eurospeed International.
Okay.
And it was good until the bills came due every month. It wasn't so great. So One day, I'm getting ready to go out. All these guys, hey, can you buy this? I need a distributor. Can you put it in? Yeah, whatever. I'm getting ready to go to work, and I walk out in my driveway. I'm like, oh, man, that's a 930 turbo sitting in my driveway. I got to put a fuel distributor in that. Oh, there's a 944 Turbo S. It needs a turbo. I'm looking at all the others, a G-Body 911 Carrera. You know, I need to do. I'm like, wow, I'm doing this all wrong. I need to work on these things. So I took an old boarded up shop in the north side of Lansing that a friend of mine who was an attorney in the Porsche Club with me helped me get squared away. We redid it, and we became one of the largest Porsche service centers in probably the Midwest, if not the biggest. At any time, I'd have 50 Porsches in there for service.
Wow. Yeah, and you were saying earlier to me that you had 7 locations at one point?
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I had sold them to my attorney, actually. He came and bought them. And then came to Florida, and I got out of it for a short pinch, and by accident, I got sucked back into it. I own an industrial hydraulics company. Okay. And a guy who owns a very, very large crane company here came, and I had I think I had a 911 Turbo or something sitting in my garage, or my shop. I had a big shop. And the purchasing manager goes, huh, my boss got one of those. I'm like, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, I used to work on these, you know. He said, oh, really? Next thing I know, here comes a Porsche beyond a tow truck to Tampa, to my location. I'm like, I call him, like, dude, what are you doing, man? He's like, I need you to fix this car. So I fixed it, and by the time I was done, the thing was like almost did wheelies, and then I get another car, and the next thing I know, I'm back in the Porsche business. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So how long? I guess when did you start up in Michigan, and then what year did you get down here to Tampa?
I started in Michigan about 1992-ish, 92-ish, something like that. I can't remember specifically. I still have the first car I ever really raced out there. It's a 1989 944 Turbo S. At the time, it was the world's fastest 4-cylinder, 168 miles an hour. I rolled one of them at a truck called Grattan. You know, I've had a few race cars go, you know.
Yeah, if you race long enough, right?
Yeah. That hood there is from that car. I actually raced in the 12 hours of Sebring with that.
Okay, nice.
That car got caught on fire at a racetrack, and I'm in the process of rebuilding that.
Okay.
So, yeah, about 1990, and then I came down here, and like I said, I just accidentally got sucked into the thing again, and then, you know, joined the Porsche Club, and I've been an avid racer. I've been racing for, you know, won the national championship a couple of years ago, Daytona, Sebring, all over. I was just at Sebring 2 weekends ago. So we're very, very race-oriented here.
Yeah.
You know, everything. I showed you my tire room. I got probably 50 sets of slicks back there, new and used, you know, heat cycled. So we kind of focus on the high performance, and, you know, like we see in the garage, you know, some classic cars, you know, that nobody knows how to work on anymore. You know, you're driving with a carburetor, and some of these young kids are like, oh my God, a carburetor, you know. Yeah, come look at this, you know. Right. There's no wires in it. So carburetors, fuel injection, you know, they do it all. We have a couple of fuel injection machines in there. But,
okay, nice.
So that's kind of a nutshell how I got into it, you know.
So Rokket, I think we've been teasing these guys enough about, you know, what you guys are doing, but let's start showing them the shop.
All right.
I'm gonna let you lead the way, and we'll follow along. So.
Well, this is where we do the like cylinder head assembly and testing, and I've got a fuel injection machine in there. We do a lot of injector testing. Matter of fact, one of those injectors has a leak in it from the side. Some of the parts you can't buy anymore. You gotta source them or build them or whatever. So back through here, this is where I do the engine assembly. And this is Rodney. He's my right-hand man.
Hey, Rodney.
How you doing, man? You doing all right?
Doing good.
And here we've got the VGS machine over here that we actually do the valve grinding on, and a valve grinding machine. But this is where we do all of the assembly of all the cars that we work on. This is actually a G-body air-cooled 911 engine that we're getting ready to, it's a 3.2, we're getting ready to pump it out to a 3.4.
Okay.
It's about 10.5 to 1 compression, almost about 10.5, 10.7.
Yeah.
Pistons and cylinders are behind you right there. Over here, we got a turbo off a 944 Turbo S, got a cam tower. I've got a GT3 crank over here that we're straightening and getting ready to polish.
Yeah.
I've got This is actually going at a 1967 Camaro that we have out there. This is a 400 punched out to, I think it's 438 or something like that. I don't remember. I have to do the math on it.
Very nice.
Got this is kind of our bread and butter, the 996 series engines, M96, M97s.
Yeah.
We specialize in these, and I actually have started stocking the cases for them because these engines are made out of Locasil. The cylinder liners are Locasil. And what happens when they get to the bottom of the stroke, they're coming up on the thrust axis, it puts a lot of excessive pressure on the cylinder walls. So what happens at the Locasil, you started getting elongation of the cylinder wall. So what we did is we're one of the first to do it. We machine out the Locasil and we press in sleeves similar to like what you have on the LS series, like the LS came out of his Z06 out there, aluminum block, had ductile iron liners. The ductile iron, you can't kill it. Now this was a dry sleeve, and we also have the wet sleeves, which are more of our race versions with ribs on the, and we ship these all over the country. Actually the world, we send them as far away as Africa. So we have sleeved these, we've got a bigger sealing surface, and the entire thing is ductile iron.
Okay.
We worked with LA Sleeve to design our own sleeves for these engines.
Nice.
So they're customized for us specifically.
Yeah.
Cut that open if you
cool.
like.
No,
But essentially, the same engine as this.
Yeah.
Now these engines are difficult to build because you build them, you assemble the cases, kind of like a Subaru, and then you put the pistons in. So when you see the so these three right here are fitted like a typical cylinder case. Hey, Rodney, go grab that crankshaft, that rotating assembly off that other one, so I can show. But then you have a hole right here. There's a hole on the side that you actually pull out the plug. There's a plug right there.
Yeah.
And you have to put a tool in to drive the wrist pins through. So you got to get the cylinders just right. You got to push them down.
Wow.
So we'll get through, put the wrist pin in, and then you have to load the wrist pin clip and pray to God that it doesn't fall off, and you have to take the engine all apart again.
Oh, man.
So you just hit it, and they go into, you start here, cylinder number 6, cylinder number 5, cylinder number 4.
Okay.
And like
it's got to be stressful.
These are, and I can show you what the rotating assembly looks like out of these.
Okay.
They're different than most.
So, Rokket, how many engines and potentially cars would you be working on at one time?
I've got about 30 engine projects going on
Yeah.
right now in various stages, but this is actually the rotating assembly. You can go ahead and spin it around and just set it in there real quick, Rodney. This has not been rebuilt yet, but this is part of the...
Yeah.
This is a 5-chain engine. They have 5 timing chains on it. So they kind of go in like this. Got an IMS, which is you just set it in there so they get... But these pistons right here, in order to get the case put back together, these have to come off.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, it is a job because the rods are all in there. So you start with 6, go to 5, number 4. And you use a tool that's like, I don't know if I got it over here. Anyway, it's a tool about this long that you use to drive the wrist pins in. But this is kind of our specialty, is that Porsche 996, 911 engines, 997s, but GT3s are where we really specialize in. GT3s are a blend of this engine and the air-cooled.
Yeah.
What they did is they took an air-cooled engine, blocked off the oil return tubes, which you'll see on that air, and you can actually see it in the castings where the oil return tubes used to be. And what they did then is they water-cooled. Now, a lot of Porsche purists were like horrified at the thought of antifreeze going through a Porsche engine, but it works. So they cooled the heads and the block. The blocks, instead of being individual blocks like that, they actually have a cylinder block. I had one here. It's all apart. But you put the sleeves in. The sleeves are replaceable. So you put the sleeves in the block, and the block then bolts onto the engine. So it's kind of composite.
Yeah, very nice. So you mentioned that you might be working on 30 different engine projects at a time. How about for like an entire year? How many engines will you guys build?
A lot. I'd say probably 100-ish, maybe more.
Yeah.
But some of the projects are, last a while.
Yeah.
Like I've got a Shelby out there that sourcing the parts for that. Now that car, we had to have custom ordered pistons for. He didn't want to go to 40 over. He wanted 35 thousandths. So we had to get 035 and buy 035 pistons. So some of the stuff, I work with a customer, sit down, find out what they want. He did not want to go to 40,000. I want 35 thousandths. They don't make them. So you got to call, like Ross Pistons helped us out with that. They manufactured the pistons and we got them.
Yeah, so it just takes a little longer. Yeah. Well, very good.
So,
and Rokket, on the air-cooled stuff, you were telling me earlier that they don't even use gaskets on there.
No.
And just the assembly process for these is a little bit more intricate than,
it's very intricate.
than guys might be used to on other engines, right?
Right. Like these right here, this one's, I can't show you now because I don't have the gauges on it, but this, you don't have timing marks on the Porsche engines. They don't have them. You have to use a top dead center dial indicator, and then you put a dial indicator on each cam. Now this has actually only got one cam, but so I've only got two indicators, one on the intake, one on the exhaust.
Right.
Where you measure the valve overlap. Valve overlap is a point where both the intake and the exhaust valve are open for a very, very short moment. And the whole idea of that is the velocity of the exhaust will draw cool air across the top of the piston and the valves. So these, the overlap on this one was, I think it was cam 1.239 millimeters of overlap. So that's how wide the valve is open for a moment, just enough to allow the coolant to go by it.
Yeah.
The GT3 engines that we specialize in, they're very similar. The case is identical.
Yeah.
But from here, where the air-cooled cylinders are, like these, they're composite. We had these made for us by Molly.
Okay.
Where on the GT3 series, this block is all one piece.
Okay.
And then you slip the cylinders, the liners,
Yeah, so
inside
the top
there.
half there, yeah.
Right, and these are the cylinder heads
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
And then the heads are, I can show you when it's all blown up, but they're fairly expensive, use
Oh, sure, sure.
high flow, Porsche Motorsports, they're ported out. I mean, typical port would be that big around. I mean, they're like that. I mean, there is no resistance to flow at all.
Yeah.
So, but this is going from a 3.2 to a 3.4, punching this out to, that's what we're doing with this one.
Nice.
But yeah, even like the GT3s, for example, and I don't have one here to show you, they have 3 gauges, top dead center, intake, and exhaust. On the intake and the exhaust, you're looking for the maximum lobe lift, and it's done 180 degrees out of phase or 360 degrees out of phase. So you start with your rough-in of your camshafts. You rotate it 110 degrees, and then the intake valve is going to be open to its maximum. So then you rotate the cam, watch the dial indicator, find the dwell of it.
Right.
So you have the maximum left, set it. Now, some of them are 105, some are 110 degrees. The newer cars are 105 degrees. Then 110 degrees before bottom dead center, when the exhaust valve starts to open up, you find the maximum, the maximum lift.
Right, right.
And
you're telling me that's how you guys get the high performance out of it.
Yeah, just
nice.
every 1.239 millimeters on this,
Right.
which is the maximum performance we can get out of this engine.
Very good.
And this little air-cooled engine will probably put out about 350 horsepower-ish.
Nice, nice. And then, Rokket, you got a couple different machines in here for doing machine work. So you were telling me that you guys do a majority of stuff here in house, but you will send some things out.
Yeah, we have a few different vendors we use for CNC machining. I've found that the industry, as a general rule of thumb, it's hard to find qualified machinists. There's no schools, they don't have colleges for it anymore. I think there's one in Texas somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I hired a kid from there for a while, and it didn't work out so great. But experience, there's just not a whole lot of people with machining experience.
Yeah.
I got a boring bar. We got the Rottler machine over here. We got a balancing machine,
Yeah.
balance rotating assemblies. Got a resurfacer over here. Anything other than that, anything super special, I sub it out to a CNC shop.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right.
So here's some of the.
So that's the assembly room.
That's the assembly room.
All right.
I'm working on an LS right here. The reason it's hanging from the crane is because the block off plate that the guy sent me does not fit all the aftermarket parts. This is from a ZR1 Corvette.
Okay.
And the only reason it's hanging from the crane is so I can put the rear cover on.
Yeah.
And if you look around, you're going to see all kinds of Porsches.
Yeah. Some cool cars in here.
Yep. This is a Porsche 968. This is 1994. The 968 is a project that took the 928 Porsche and they actually cut the engine in half. Are you familiar with the 928?
No, not
Risky
really.
business, you know,
Oh,
the guy
well,
drove
yeah,
in the
yeah.
pool?
I know the car, but
It's a 928.
I don't know a ton about it.
So this is a 3-liter, but the 968, the last of the 928s were 5.9 liters. So they literally cut the engines in half
Yeah.
and put them in the this is called a 968.
Okay.
This is actually an old cup car, a GT3 cup car.
Nice.
That we're in the process of restoring. This one caught on fire at Sebring. So this is in the process of being rebuilt. This is actually my car.
Okay.
You got some of the Fast and Furious stuff. Here's
Yeah.
a Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
Yep. We got some old antique stuff here that we're restoring. An old G-body 911.
Yeah. That's neat.
You know, this is in a long-term restoration project. Engine guy that had it passed away, and his wife was in his barn. And she asked us if we'd like it, so we made her deal on it.
Yeah.
This is a 944 Turbo, also known as a Turbo S, which stands for Super.
Okay. This one
This
looks
one
pretty
we
cool.
just finished. This is a full-blown race car.
Yeah, looks like it.
We changed it doesn't have power steering on it. AC's been omitted, power steering's been omitted. Use early racks on them to save weight. They handle terribly in the pits, but when you're on, you're doing 130 miles an hour,
That's where it likes to live, right?
you know, it's gone. Spec Miata. I'm sure you all heard about those.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are popular. Yeah.
We have a Spec Miata here
Okay.
that we built. Here's how you're all engine guys.
Nice.
So this car, we won the championship in 2012? I think it was.
Nice.
So
Is this stuff that are you primarily driving, or you got some other folks that that'll drive
for
with
the
you?
shop, I'm the primary driver.
Okay. Yeah.
This one I was on a team, and I actually bought the car from the team because I had so damn much fun with it.
Yeah.
It's a G-body 911. The engine for that is in the shop.
Okay.
This was my first race car. It's a
Wow.
944 Turbo S, Turbo Cup car, actually. And I've had this for, 1991. It's an 89.
Wow. And do you still race with it a decent amount?
Actually, my son did.
Okay.
And he actually kicked ass with this thing at Daytona in a NASA race. I was going to sell it, and he's like, Dad, I love this car. He's
Yeah.
in the Army now, flying helicopters, so
Okay.
he's doing something really cool.
Yeah.
But he took an interest in this car and did really, really well with it. I mean, he was pretty much unstoppable. Two reasons. One, no financial culpability and no fear.
Yeah.
So I'm always worried about crash. If I crash, I got a problem.
Right. Right.
This car over here, why don't you move that out of the way, Rodney? This is a project we've been doing for a discerning customer. This is a Shelby GT350.
Nice.
And we have found, working on some of these antique cars like this GT350, that not everything is available.
Yeah.
You can look it up by application, you can look it up by price. This is a full engine rebuild. This was built 35,000 on the pistons, not 40, 35,000. So some of the parts are getting very, very difficult to procure.
Yeah.
For example, the AC. Right now, we're struggling with an AC, trying to find this. So if anybody knows where this is or where I can buy this, let me know. For the AC. That's the only thing standing us between this car going out the
internet.
road.
Somebody will chime in.
So that's, and when we do a job, we generally lay everything out on the, on a table or cart. Like we're getting ready to build out that Mitsubishi 3000. So I lay everything out, I make sure everything's clean. Then it goes on a cart, and then it gets slowly, kind of like when you open up a model when you're a kid, you cut out the parts and lay them on the table, getting ready to glue it together.
Absolutely.
But this car is pristine. This car, this was a full engine reman.
I mean, it looks like you guys are getting pretty close to being done with it. You said this was
It's done. It runs. Everything's fine. I'm just trying to we shook down probably 20 AC leaks, and we're down to the last one, which is a brass fitting.
Yeah.
So this one right here, we just did this is for the president of the Porsche Club, who owns this car. This car over here actually belonged to a top gunfighter for the Navy.
Wow.
That one. Is this battery good? This is one of our recent rebuilds. All right.
You want to start?
Yeah, go ahead and start.
You said this was the president of the Porsche Club?
This is, yeah. Shookie's is his name. Great guy. That's not how this car sounded when it came in.
Yeah.
This was the air cooled, like I had inside, or they're not an air cooled, but the 996 series. So give a little gas.
Nice.
The black car is a 993. That's got an air-cooled engine in it. That's the last of the air-cooled Porsches. That's got a 3.6 liter in it. It's about to become a 3.8.
Yeah.
Those are probably, right now, one of the most desirable Porsches to buy. The prices on them are just skyrocketing, ratcheting up,
Yeah.
I have another little Spec Miata over there. That's the car my kid learned to drive in. I had it.
Okay.
First time he ever drove, he was 13 years old at Homestead International Speedway.
Wow.
He was sweating so bad, scared to death, going up on a banking,
Sure.
First time he ever drove a car.
That's cool.
So we got doing the math. We got the 20, we got the Mitsubishi 911 SC, 944 Turbo S, Spec Miata, G-Body 911, 944 Turbo Cup, 968 GT3, Spec Miata, old Spec Miata with the 1.6. This is actually a DE car. That's not a full cage car. We got over here. This is actually my car.
Okay.
This is a GT3 Rally Cup. Very rare. The Rally Cup. You see these at like Sebring, the Rolex, everything else. This car was actually raced in the mountains in New Zealand by a guy named Gavin Riches. Gavin passed away, and I ended up procuring the car, and now we're done a bunch of stuff to it. Paddle shifters and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a beast.
Yeah, it looks like it.
66 Mustang that came in yesterday. This has been a nightmare, electrical nightmare. This is a Dodge Stealth.
Yeah.
Electrical nightmare. If you all want to hear the Cup car, I can fire it up.
Yeah, we'll say no to that.
I warn you, it is not for the doors are carbon fiber, and I have them off right now. That's the difference between a GT3 and a 3.6.
Nice. That's pretty wicked.
Yeah, it's more miles per gallon, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And we just installed a paddle shifter on it. If you look in the car, there is no shifter at all. It's all electronic and pneumatic.
Very cool.
Which we brought over here. And like I said, the doors are carbon fiber.
Oh, wow, yeah. Light enough to pick up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So everything, Porsche, when they build the race cars, everything is, I'll put that back on there, is everything Porsche thinks about is done. Even titanium lug nuts.
Yeah.
Every little detail. That's why I kind of like them. You know, I'm just
I mean, you can't deny it's
technical nerd.
excellent engineering, yeah.
Now this car over here, this is another G body. This is a turbo body 911. We just built an engine for this.
No, that's cool.
Everybody thinks this is a turbocharger, but that's actually the cooling fan.
Just the fan, yeah.
Just the fan. And this thing sounds like an absolute beast too. This thing is louder than, not as loud as that, but louder than this.
Yeah.
And where right now the guy bought a bunch of wheels, and it's not really engine related, but we're trying to find the correct offset for the car, because when they built the wheels, they didn't take in consideration, so the wheel sits too far in. So we've got all kinds of different spacers and everything, so we can fill the wheel wells with these.
Gotcha.
Spent like $5,000 on these rims, and
Wow.
they just sit like way too far in.
Yeah.
So that's another little aspect of what we do, suspension work. This one has got this engine. This is a fairly fresh engine build for us. Customers had it for about 4 months. We just got it back. We rebuilt the transmissions on them too, manuals. The stainless steel isn't quite as pretty as it was a little while ago, but this is a fresh engine.
Wow.
It's only got a few thousand miles on it, maybe 2.
Yeah, no, it looks pretty nice underneath there.
So this is the air-cooled, that's the 3.4 I showed you in there that we're building for another car that's in restoration, that one over there. Same car, same engine essentially.
Okay.
But this thing's loud as hell too, this thing's crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
This is undergoing a full restoration.
And what year is this car?
This is an 86.
Okay.
86 911. Also referred to as a G-body 911. The G-body is ones when you think of your classic 911 from like 1974 to like 1990. They're all called G-bodies.
Gotcha.
1989. But this, and believe it or not, an engine like this to build this thing is, you can't really see all the stuff inside, but it's about a $35,000 engine build.
Yeah.
$40,000.
I bet.
And like I said, the GT3s, like what's in that car over there, where the oil return tubes are, they've filled in the castings. So there's just aluminum, blocked off aluminum, because the cases of these, essentially, which Porsche developed in 1965, is the exact same thing that's in this car over here. They all have built upon themselves until about 2014, and then it went to all composites. However, the 996 series, like that black car, we call it the Raven, because we came in here one day and there's a Raven sitting on the top of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're like, there's a Raven on the car.
That's cool.
You know? So the car became known as the Raven.
Yeah. Nice.
So,
Very
you
cool.
know, it's different. You know, I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure. That's very neat.
Classic sports cars, race cars, you know, all kinds of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So that ZR1 is actually going in a spec Corvette, a new series for the SCCA and NASA. So everything's micro balancing, and you know, right down to the wire. Everything's going to be precision.
Rokket, I'm not completely keeping track here, but I'd guess you got to have at least 25 cars in here at the moment. You know,
I've got
about how many do you typically have in here?
This is about normal.
Yeah.
Really.
Nice.
And I have another Porsche over there that's a little bit obscure. That's actually a 944 S2.
Okay.
That's a 1990. That's also we're working on the linkage. Now, they only made 1,000 of these cars, so, which gives it, 1,000. So we did the full reman on this, rebuilt. We're still putting it together. Had a bad throttle cable in it,
Yeah.
You know, you go to find throttle cable and it's been superseded like 9 times, and you go to hook up the throttle cable to the linkage on the throttle body and it doesn't fit. So then you got to go find stuff from a 968 or 928 and retrofit it, and you just can't even look up the stuff in the books. You just got to.
Right.
Now this is a 16 valve, 3-liter engine. These put out about 300 horsepower.
Okay.
This one might probably put a little bit more because we gave it some love.
Nice. Well, that's all super cool.
You know, 12 to 1 and some other stuff. So.
Yeah. Very good.
But that's about it, really. I got a couple of old school engines over there that, you know, one came out, one of them came, a guy shipped a car to us from Germany. It was actually an American car.
Yeah.
Remember that car with a big blower on it? The guy,
Yeah.
But nobody worked on a supercharged car, and he's a professor at University of South Florida, and he had the car in Germany, and he had the car shipped to us. And for us, it was just another engine, you know.
Very good. Yeah. Very cool. Well, we appreciate you showing us
Well, I
around.
certainly appreciate you letting me show off my wares,
This
you know.
was super cool.
And that y'all have been
You guys
very
are doing some awesome engine work, and obviously just in the total cars in general with what you do for customers and yourselves with racing stuff. So it's all really neat.
You know, we got a lot of people who come in off the street and like, is this a car show in here? You know?
Right.
So,
Well, that was my kind of impression. I was like, damn, look at all that's in here.
I got another engine there that's done, but that's called an X51 package. It's a Porsche high performance engine, another Porsche engine. I got Porsche engines all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, it's, like you said, it's what you do. So
yeah, everybody's got to specialize in something. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's old cars and high tech sports cars and racing stuff. So.
yeah. Well, Rokket, again, we do
I
appreciate it.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I appreciate it, you know. And,
Guys, we appreciate you guys watching this Engine Builder Takeover. If you do have questions for Rokket about anything that you saw today and just anything about Engine Lab, make sure you leave that stuff down in the comments and we'll pass that on to him. Yeah, and as always, make sure you're checking out enginebuildermag.com for more great engine content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.